Hey guys, it is Callus here with a live narration of a difficult, hyped up pairing, Mael and Kerts for the semifinals of Callus Invitational 5 play-ins, and like I said, this is a tough one. These guys looked like two of the more dominant players, to be sure, in their round of 8 matchups. In fact, you could argue that these were the two most dominant players. They both decisively dismantled their opponents in the early stages, and that leads us here to what seems to be very similar teams. They both led with a Zapdos. They both ended up with a Lax. Kerts did get the minor advantage of getting a T-Wave on the opposing Zapdos as opposed to the Lax, which is not a big deal. So one of them has a paralyzed Zapdos, one of them doesn't. We also see here clearly that Metagross is choice banded, and he gets a very relevant attack raise because he would not be able to kill without the raise, but now we know a +1 banded mash is coming, and Mael has to decide what to do with that. So he's put in a position already very early on in this best of 3 set for a spot in the play-in finals within their bracket. How do you deal with that? I mean, the Lax will just die if Metagross, which is always going to stay in here, is to land the 85-15 Meteor Mash. He's going to go to the paralyzed Zapdos. This doesn't seem like a great solution. If it weren't parried, sure, but yeah, he's out of here. I guess he was hoping that one of the two mashes would connect, would miss, but he's got 3 attack raises, 3 mashes, 3 raises, making it look easy. If Metagross always attack rose with Meteor Mash, it would be the best poke or the second best poke under T-Tar in the tier for sure. Hell, it would probably be the best. I mean, it would just be so broken if just Mash every single time got an attack raise, and that's what we're looking at so far here. Pursuit is going to take it out with Scooby Doom, which Mael has used now twice. Used it in the previous set. He had a rest set, abusing early bird, so he only has to rest for the 1 turn. Interesting, he's not gaining lefties. We're looking at like a Lum or Resto Chesto or I don't know why. Black Glasses maybe to like super definitely kill Gengar, even if it's like the bulkiest thing in the world. I'm surprised that Houndoom does not have lefties, but here we are. So yeah, remarkably similar teams. We have Zapdos, Lax, Metagross, and Darkmon, which may be a Pursuit Mon for both users. We know that the Darkmon for Mael, the Houndoom, is Pursuit. We just saw it. Is T-Tar Pursuit? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but it certainly could be. But they have rolled up in Game 1 with remarkably similar teams. Mael did do a good job of minimizing the fact that his Zapdos got paralyzed there, which is obviously not an ideal thing to happen, but he ended up trading that with the meta effectively, which isn't so bad. There have been some consequences, though. Kerts is doing a really good job at attacking Mael, keeping him on the back foot, chipping away. He landed Earthquake on the meta. He's got chip damage on the Lax, who remember is at 56%. A little tiny bit on Houndoom. He at least revealed the set that it doesn't have lefties, so we don't know. I mean, we obviously don't know the full set, but that's a valuable piece of information that certainly should have caught Kerts' eye. Gotta think Kerts is a little bit ahead right now, though he does have to be careful about this meta booming on him, which is exactly what happens. Thunderbolt does a ton, leaves him at just 1%, but that doesn't matter because his 1% is going to be good enough to trade with the Zapdos 100% via the boom. And that leaves us again in a tie game, which is all it's ever been. Now a 4-4. So a double from Kerts. Doesn't like the matchup against Mence, understandably. Very well may see himself getting hit with HP Grass or something along those lines. Out of the way he goes to Lax, but he finds himself against the Houndoom, which doesn't seem that exciting to me. Flamethrower and Body Slam, which does a ton. And we're not going to get to see what the Houndoom does because he simply dies. So here is the Dugtrio follow-up, which does win this matchup, pending crit or para. Kerts is the one with the unlucky para, therefore Dugtrio going to be just fine. Full team revealed for Mael as he makes it once again a tie at 3-3. And obviously T-Tar is not going to come in here, so Swampert it is. A Swampert that has shown nothing. A switch to Lax here is potentially dangerous with a Focus Punch, but obviously if you leave the Dugtrio in, it can just die to an Earthquake, a Surf, Hydro Pump, whatever it may be. So we wait. And Mael thinking over what to do. If it is an off-pert, he really doesn't have a great switch here. According to our prediction thread, by the way, you guys overwhelmingly, this is the most lopsided of all, believe that Kerts is going to win this set. This is the least close out of the 3 this round, or the 4 this round, rather. And like I said, you guys, by like a 3-to-1 ratio, very heavily believe that Kerts is going to defeat Mael. I think this is a power pairing. I think this one is close. I mean, obviously, who you think is going to win is not a reflection of like how confident you are in that or like how much you think they're going to win by. If you think one guy is 51-49 favorite, then you vote for that guy, and that doesn't get reflected. But still, the majority of you guys believe that Kerts will win here, and we'll see if it plays out that way. Both of them hesitating now. It was initially just Mael thinking about it. But now we see Kerts' timer going down as well. Now he's rethinking his play. Man, I mean, what a play it would be if Kerts were to go for Focus Punch trying to get the lax, and then Mael somehow called that out and went for Earthquake. Mael is now a minute and a half in the tank and counting, trying to go over every possible late game scenario here. And Kerts also still taking the timer. I don't know for Kerts if he's genuinely rethinking it and Mael has gotten in his head a little, or if Kerts knows exactly what he's going to do and he's just utilizing the timer here because he can, and to make Mael think that he doesn't have an obvious play here, doesn't have something like Focus Punch. Man, we're going deep. Mael has used 2 full minutes here in real time. It really shows the effort these guys are putting in and the tension of a live narration and a live game. 2 full minutes and counting, and Mael opts to stay in with Earthquake. Gambles on a Focus Punch or a Hydro Pump miss or an over prediction Ice Beam, and there is a chance of any of those. In fact, Hydro Pump is what happened here, but it wasn't good enough. It did connect, and it's going to kill the Dougie. Hidden Power Grass there, critical hit does not matter, was always going to kill the Swampert from 43, and the Swampert didn't even have lefties, so I think we were looking at an end pert there, and that leaves us, again, with a tie. Here's the lax switch in. DD is the one set he most didn't want to see. He's now going to need the Salamence to dodge a Rock Slide, I believe, or to get a crit here, or I believe Kerts is going to take this game 1. Of course, Kerts may take this game 1 anyway, depending on what's in the back, but we are not going to get the drama or the suspense. We don't even get to see what the last poke was. If he dodges Rock Slide, obviously he can kill the T-Tower from 8%, and then it comes down to the 1v1. Whether that was going to be relevant or not, it depends on what was in the back. Obviously, something like an off-star in the back or an arrow should win anyway, but there are no guarantees. As it stands, Kerts is going to take game 1. So far, the prediction thread is correct. Kerts 1 game away from knocking out Mael, but we've seen already people come back from losing game 1 to go on to win the best of 3. It happens all the time in these tours. It's great to have a 1-0 lead, but you cannot count anybody out. Mael should come roaring back in game 2. Just have to wait for them to begin. There's not really much that I mean, yeah, that game was not super hacksy. I mean, all the attack raises, but a lot of that got negated. The lax from Kerts did get paralyzed when Dugtrio tried to kill it, which, as it turns out, probably did matter because the Dugtrio would have been killed by the lax otherwise, and then maybe the Swampert's a little higher, but I don't think an N-Pert, which obviously has no bulk to it, it wouldn't have survived the HP Grasp from the Salamence anyway. So I don't know, I think a lot of the hacks didn't really matter. I think that was a pretty clean game, all things considered. The hacks that did occur didn't feel all that relevant. Like I said, guys, just waiting for the second game. We will hop right in it when that begins. I don't blame the guys for taking a minute. I mean, regrouping, figuring out what they want to use. I mean, maybe in Mael's case, his tournament's on the line, so I mean, he obviously doesn't want to tilt. He obviously wants to figure out, what do I bring here? What went wrong in that last game? I mean, he's got to get 2 in a row exactly correct, right? He can't He can't make a mistake, find himself in a terrible matchup. It'll cost him his tournament. He obviously wants to play in the main event. And even though Kerts is the voting favorite, says our prediction thread, don't think for a minute that Mael doesn't have fans or friends or people helping him out. All the Wolfpack teammates that he had from last year in his corner. You know Star and BKC and ABR are rooting for him. Here we go. Here's game 2, and we're just going to go ahead and switch sides for continuity here. So, wow, interesting leads we find ourselves with here. Hariyama, which is generally one of the very best leads that you can have because you basically have a guaranteed knockoff in almost every single matchup. But this is one of the random, unlikely nightmare matchups. In fact, we're looking at BL on BL, where Hariyama cannot stay in. It would just get slept by the Venusaur, which is going to outspeed it because Venusaur typically runs max or close to max speed, certainly going to be faster than the slow Hariyama. The net result after all of that is we are going to trade status, but not with the Hariyama. It's going to be the Venusaur getting paralyzed after it gets a sleep powder off on a Zapdos. Knockoff comes down, no more lefties for Venusaur. Currently we don't have sand to really punish it, but there very well may be sand elsewhere. Focus Punch, which is going to be, stab, very high base power, is always going to do a good chunk, but it is resisted and there's a Leech Seed going, so it's not as devastating as it could be. Zapdos comes in. It's going to be the second time that gets Leech Seeded, so he's causing him 2 PP with pressure every time, and now Sand is going to come down. T-Tar is almost always on Venusaur squads. The old school one that everybody knows that has been seen in SPL, that was dominant with Linear on ladder. Everybody knows the old squad. It's a Venusaur Fortress squad with Arrow in the back. There's also this new wave Venusaur team that Vapicuno built. Who knows, but so far very standard with the Venusaur and the T-Tar, and so far Mael, who needs to win this game in order to even get to a third game and stay alive, is looking pretty good. He kills the Venusaur without too much to show for it. And Rhydon from Mael, that's a scary poke. He's got lefties, he eats the double edge, and man, what does Kerts switch into Rhydon? There's sub. Rhydon learns some interesting stuff. He learns Mega Horn, I believe he learns Endeavor. He's got Stab, Earthquake, Rock Slide, which is really good. Earthquake, the best he's going to do to Pert, about a third, not too bad. Rhydon's special defense is absolute garb, so Ice Beam, Surf, whatever would just devastate it, but that is not what occurs. The Ice Beam pops the sub, and Mael wisely gets out of the way. We end up with the Coon coming in for the first time against Skarm, +1 Surf, good chunk at 59. There's Roar, and that's going to bring out the lead Hariyama here once again, who of course has to step on the spikes. That actually might be a bad thing for Kerts to blow out. If the Skarm doesn't have Drill Peck or whatever other attack, then it's going to be a free Focus Punch here for Mael, which, Kerts does not seem to have a good switch in for that right now. And it looks like he could have gotten away with it, but he's going to play safe and go to Starmie anyway. But as it turns out, he could have gotten a Focus Punch off there, and it would have been very problematic. I think it would have killed the Skarm or done massive damage to a switch in. But Mael does have a spinner in the back, as he shows. His last poke is a previously unrevealed Starmie. We know the full team. For Kerts, he doesn't have the exact traditional team. He's looking at a Skarm instead of what is usually a Fortress. But if the rest of the team were normal, it would be last poke Blissey for Kerts, though that is, of course, yet to be confirmed, and it totally could be something else. Even after a Swords Dance, out goes Rhydon. It just can't risk taking a water attack. It would insta-die to that Hydro Pump about 80 times over. And Kerts' team is different than the norm. It's last poke Magneton here. It's only 2 pokes off, but it's structurally, the way that it functions is very different from the traditional 4E Blissey team with the Skarm and Mag. Mag's a big one. Replacements here. So that's going to be a physical tar instead of a special tar, which we're kind of obligated to bring with the 4E. And then you also have the added benefit of clearing out opposing Skarm for the benefit of Swampert and Aerodactyl. Now let's not miss what happened here. Surf killed Magneton, which is great. Mael extends his lead 6-4. However, what's not so great for him is that he finds his Coon paralyzed here due to the 10% after effect from Thunderbolt, which is obviously not what he was looking for. So now we wait. Can Kerts capitalize here? He might be forced to go to the T-Tower or the arrow and just click a physical attack and risk that the Coon lives and gets you with a +1 surf, which would kill the arrow for sure. And I don't know if it kills the tower or not. Tower is at 100%, but it would do a ton. Certainly not an attack that he wants to take right now if he can help it. Kerts, of course, being the one taking the time here. Nothing that Mael can do. He just has to sit and wait for Kerts to figure out what he wants to bring in. Like I said, it seems like it would be the T-Tower or the arrow for me. I don't know what the non-offensive Pert could do. And the Scum doesn't seem that exciting, right? I mean, you just come in to roar it out and you just die to the surf if you don't get the full para. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, arrow or T-Tower. If it is a DD tower, he might just be asking himself, can I sweep here? Realistically, do I have to just go for it? Is right now the time? I think Kerts is trying to play out the late game scenarios in his mind. He's trying to figure out, can I grind this out? Can I claw back in with the correct arrow predictions? Or is now the time? Do I have to just go for it? Do I have to just make a play, try to set up, see if we get there? It's very risky for the T-Tower to come in and DD here. A lot can go wrong, and Kerts does not go that route. He goes with the Aerodactyl. I don't know that Rock Slide is a 100% kill here. If this is a bulky Coon, for example, if it were max HP, bold, and max defense, I don't think the Rock Slide kills a lot of the time here. We, of course, don't know the exact spread of the Coon, which Kerts very well may have been calcing during that time. But either way, he determines he's not comfortable staying in and risking this. He's going to fodder off his sleeping arrow, or sleeping Zapdos rather, to the arrow, leaving us in a 5-4 situation after Rock Slide connects, but now the rock-resisting Rhydon is going to find his way in, and he's going to get more chip damage, valuable chip damage, on the Swampert, 36% this time, as opposed to a third from last time with Earthquake, but once again, he will not risk eating a Hydro Pump for the insta-KO, and out of the way he goes. Kerts goes for Earthquake instead. Good play, because it does more, obviously, than Hydro Pump would have to the incoming Starmie, and that's going to leave the Starmie at 42%. We've seen only Rapid Spin. May or may not have Recover, may or may not have Hydro Pump. Starmie seems weird to switch into for Kerts here. He might just stay in an Earthquake again. It does have Recover, and he does go for Earthquake again. Because, yeah, I mean, nothing really switches into Hydro Pump here, and then 2 of the pokes in the back for Kerts are weak to Thunderbolt as well. It's interesting that Mael is going this way. He might stall him out of Earthquakes. I don't hate this, but he's also risking a crit. Plenty of Earthquakes left in the tank, 13 of them, but of course there are far more Recovers left, 30 of them. So maybe this is the play for Mael. Maybe you just stall the Pert out of some PP. Now, I mean, granted, the trade-off of that is that the Pert is gaining lefties this whole time. I don't love that as much, the Surf there. Maybe he was thinking that the arrow might sneak in on a Recover, so I mean, I get why he's doing that, but he was out of crit range before. The Surf damage that he did is going to be largely negated by the lefties here over time, and Mael is obligated to sit in here and recover over and over again. I don't hate the Surf, like I said, trying to catch the arrow, sneaking in on the Recover turn, but it does have consequences now, because like I said, the damage is going to be totally negated, and now if a crit comes, instead of the Starmie being low and having to dig its way out of it, the Starmie would just be dead. Wow, I didn't like that switch at all from Mael. I don't know how he just did that. What a soul read. He gets the Hariyama in on the exact turn that the T-Tower comes in. Wow. Fucking speechless. How did you know? What a play. What a fucking read. Mael trusting his instincts, and Jesus, I guess he's got really good instincts. How did you do that? How did you do that? How did you know on that turn of all turns it was going to be the turn the T-Tower comes in? What a damn play. Mael is just showing that he wants to be here. It's a pursuit tar, not a physical one. Down goes the Starmie, but not before paralyzing and injuring the tar. I'm still wild. That threw off my damn narration. How did Mael do that? What a play. He pulls back on the exact turn to get the Hariyama into the tar. How did he do that? What a fucking play. Mael is an animal. But this game has gotten closer. Kerts has clawed his way back in. There's a dance. I mean, that's +2 rock slide here. I haven't run many Rhydon versus Skarm Kelks, I'm afraid. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if rock slide killed here. Rhydon's base attack stat is very high. And then he's got the dance and the stab behind the rock slide. I think this is going to kill him. Oh, yeah. Skarm is out of here. And that leaves us again in a slight advantage for Mael. But this same matchup, the Swampert and the Rhydon, which Rhydon cannot, has not, will not been willing to participate in. And I think that's right. I think you have to, again, preserve the Rhydon here. This might be Mael foddering Kun. Alternatively, he could fodder Hariyama, get the Kun in, get a rest off. But, I mean, that opens up the arrow to come in and do its thing. I know that I wouldn't stay in if I'm Mael. I don't know if I'd fodder off the Kun or the Hariyama. He could also try going to Blissey because I don't think this is a Focus Punch Swampert, but who knows? We have seen... Yeah, I mean, it could be. I think it's just last move Protect on a bulky Pert, but it totally could be last move Focus Punch. One way or another, I don't like the Bliss switch. You could try it because if it is just last move Protect, then the Bliss is totally fine. So like that could be okay, but there's a risk to it if it does have Focus Punch. But I definitely wouldn't keep the Rhydon in. And then Bliss has an amount of risk, but I don't like hate it. Kun or Hari, I don't know. I think you have to have the discipline to get rid of the Kun, honestly, because I don't think it's going to be that useful given the circumstances. It's at 36. It's paralyzed. Maybe you get a rest off. If it's rest talk, it might be different. If it's last move roar for the Kun, but if it is a rest talk, if it is a Crow Kun, maybe that is worth saving. I mean, beyond maybe, that's super worth saving because a Crow Kun is a nightmare for Kerts. If it is Crow Kun for Mael and he manages to get a rest off, the Kun very well may sweep. So I guess it depends on the set of the Kun. I definitely would not give up Rhydon here. So if it's Crow Kun, I think you go to Hariyama, let it die, get the Kun in, get the rest off, and do your thing. If it's not Crow Kun, I would strongly consider just giving up the Kun here. Lot of time being taken once again. And he goes for the Blissey, and it is Last Poke Protect. That's actually a double whammy there for Kerts, because now Mael knows that he's completely safe. He's now confirmed there is no Focus Punch on the other side. Any lingering doubt that he might have had about, ooh, can I soft boil here? What if he Focus Punches me? You know, all that second guessing, out the window. He now knows there's no Focus Punch, and he knows that he's totally safe in this matchup. So that's going to really backfire on Kerts. I understand why he went for the Protect there, but I don't agree with it. Not only because you reveal the Protect, but because there was no chance ever that the Rhydon was staying in there. You protecting is just thinking that the Rhydon is going to get cute and try to Earthquake you or something there, but that was never, ever going to happen. I think that was a minor mistake for Kerts. I think the Protect had no purpose because Rhydon was never going to stay in. I don't like this Protect either. Oh, not liking the way Kerts is playing this late game. Why? Why would you Protect there? Why wouldn't you either switch to Arrow, anticipating the rest, or go for the Earthquake and try to get a crit or full para? And it is a Crow Kun. He is Bone Zone now, pending some really good Rock Slide shenanigans. Sleep Talk finds Calm Mind. And now it should just be a rest pending a Rock Slide flinch. And the Rock Slide PP is going to run out real soon. But he gets bailed out by a flinch. What a disaster for Mael. Kerts with multiple missteps in this late game. But bailed out by a flinch where there's Rock Slide. There's a way. Mael may be forced now to go back to Rhydon. I wouldn't give up the Kun here if I'm him. I think you have to go back to Rhydon, but it's so frustrating for Mael there. If he just doesn't flinch, you rest and you are in fantastic shape. Rock Slide PP depleting. One Sleep Talk Surf away from victory. Of course the flinch kicks in, says Mael. He doesn't actually say that, but that's got to be what he's thinking. So frustrating. And now he figures out what to do, and I think the answer is you just go to Rhydon. What else can you do here? I mean, Hariyama does resist Rock, but it's at just 51%. I don't love switching it into Rock Slide here, but Mael has got to be kicking himself. Kerts has made two bad Protects, in my opinion, in this late game. Neither one made sense. Rhydon was never staying in attacking Swampert there, and you gave him free fucking rest by protecting on that last turn. It just doesn't make sense. They were both bad. The Coon one was even worse, but maybe nerves getting the better of him. Kerts does not seem to be in fantastic shape in this late game. Mael gives up the Coon. I mean, Kerts ahead on paper here, but I don't actually know that he wins. I think the Rhydon has a shot to clean him up. It has to get through the pert, but I mean, we know now that it's the just traditional defensive pert, so if Rhydon happens to be EV to outspeed it, I think the pert is going to be faster. I don't think I love this play from Mael, though. I don't know why you wouldn't go to Rhydon to eat the rock slide. I think that's a mistake as well. Rhydon would take it just fine. He resists it. He's naturally very, very high defense. He would have taken the rock slide just fine. I think the Coon still had potential use for Mael. It might just be frustration kicking in that he just hasn't been able to catch a break with the Coon. The flinch sucked. He got paralyzed before, 10% with Magneton, which was unlucky. He was never able to find Surf in his sleep. Definitely some bad luck, but I still think the Coon might have had value, and I think the Rhydon switch was just so safe. So incredibly safe. Maybe he was worried switching the Rhydon in that Kerts was going to double to Swampert, but I don't know. I personally would always have switched to Rhydon there. Here comes Rock Slide, and there's a Brick Break back, so we're in the same exact position of Mael does win this 1v1 if we don't find a Flint. Ooh. Oh, that might be another mistake for Kerts, or a great play from Mael, or both, but this is going to allow the Rhydon to get behind a sub and fish for a full power, which would basically win him the game, because the Swampert, his main counter, doesn't beat him anymore if he's behind a sub. So now Mael is going to have a lot of opportunities to get game-winning hacks here. Really don't love the way Kerts has played this late game. I really think mistakes have been made. He's giving his opponent opportunities that he doesn't need to have. It feels to me that Mael has played better and deserves to win this game too, which would, of course, not necessarily mean that he wins the set. It would send us to a game 3. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I don't like some of the plays that Kerts has made in this late game. Might be nerves. It might be his ladderness where you kind of stomp or be stomped most of the time kicking in, maybe lack of tournament experience and playing late games, or maybe the late game just happens to be part of Kerts' game that he needs to work on. Mael has got to be so damn frustrated right now. Cannot catch a break. Just full power one time and I'll win the fucking game, but it won't come for him. That's going to be the 4th turn in a row. He dances up and says, please, but no, the full power never comes, and Kerts, I believe, is going to BS Mael out here. There's Brick Break, but now Arrow can just click Double Edge or hell, HP Flying, and that's going to be that, but Mael has got to be frustrated. Double Edge will do it. Kerts will win. He'll be in the finals of this play-in bracket. But like I said, Mael cannot be happy with the way that game went, and I don't blame him. Doesn't say anything. No GGs, no anything. This has been a completely silent game between the two players, but man, I feel for Mael on that one. The first game, like I said, I thought was relatively clean. I don't think Mael had any right to complain in the first game. Kerts just won, and that's fine. But this game, I've got some questions. I think Mael played better in the late game, and I think Kerts got really bailed. I don't like those two protects. I thought that rock slide flinch for Kerts was huge, and the game is totally different if that doesn't happen. And even after that stupid flinch happens, there are 4 opportunities for Mael to just find a game-winning full power against Kerts, and it never comes. Mathematically, Mael was supposed to win this game, gave himself all the opportunities, and Kerts simply got there. Now, granted, like I said, if Mael had won this game, which I think he should have, we still would have gone to a game 3. Who knows what could have happened? Kerts very well may have won that game 3 anyway, and the overall result does not change. But I absolutely, vicariously feel the frustration from Mael based on the way this particular game played out. And I think it did expose something with Kerts that maybe the strategy against him is to drag the game out a little longer and force him to make 50-50 decisions in the late game. Maybe you build to kind of extend the game if you're playing against Kerts, because we saw some late game fumbles here, and maybe that's a hole that other players could take advantage of. But in the meantime, ultimately, Kerts is going to be in the finals. He's going to be playing next week for a spot in the main event. Who is he going to be against? We don't know, because this is the first match to play out in real time. It will be the winner of Sadly Sias and Jabba the Griffin that he's going to have to play against. We don't know who that's going to be. Those guys are playing on Sunday. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the set. Kerts, the player that you predicted to win, did in fact win. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys probably tomorrow-ish, but I have to work tomorrow, I have to work today. It sucks to be an adult. I'll get games up soon. Thanks for watching.